So it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul called every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively.
This wasn't basketball. It was a heist unfolding on national television. The Indiana Fever went into Las Vegas and stunned the defending champions in Game 1. But from that moment on, the series flipped. Not because of talent, not because of strategy, but because of something far more sinister. Suddenly, the whistles got louder. The free throw counts became lopsided. And what should have been a fair fight turned into a spectacle fans are calling rigged. Head coach Stephanie White had finally seen enough. In one of the rawest post-game interviews of her career, she demanded nothing less than a league-wide investigation into WNBA officiating. So, how did a playoff series become the story of referees instead of players? And what does it mean for the league's credibility moving forward? Stay with me, because what happened next shocked everyone.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy.
The numbers don't lie. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. That's not just bad luck. That's sabotage written in the box score. If Indiana had spent the whole night jacking up threes, maybe you could explain it away. But that wasn't the case. The Fever lived in the paint. They attacked the rim, fought through contact, and forced the Aces to defend every possession. And yet, somehow, only one team got rewarded. Every drive by Vegas sent players marching to the line. Every drive by Indiana ended with bodies on the floor and silence from the whistle. It wasn't just about points either. Free throws change rhythm. They slow the game down, kill momentum, and keep the other team from running. Every time the Fever started to build a run, the refs slammed on the brakes.
You are 3-0 facing elimination in those playoffs. What can you take from Game 3?
Don't say stuff like that. What? You can just...
What can you take from Atlanta's Game 3 to help you for Game 5?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for us is again, like we've been through everything.
Meanwhile, Las Vegas defenders were allowed to shove, hold, and throw elbows like it was a wrestling match. Indiana? They got tagged for breathing too close. That's not balance, that's bias. And it set the stage for the single most blatant moment of the series, the one that had fans inside Gainbridge Center ready to riot. The breaking point came in Game 3. Aaliyah Boston, Indiana's defensive anchor, got whistled for a foul while guarding Jackie Young. Stephanie White immediately motioned for a review. The bench was ready. The crowd knew what was coming. Except nothing happened. The officials flat out ignored the request. No review, no explanation, just play on. And in the very next possession, Chelsea Gray drilled a three that ripped away Indiana's hard-earned momentum.
I think there's a double standard in how people get their calls. I think Kelsey Mitchell, number one, is held or chucked on every freaking possession and never gets a call off the ball. I think Aaliyah Boston is the worst officiated post player in the league. She never gets a call. There's a double standard there, certainly.
That single sequence flipped the entire game. Gainbridge Arena erupted in disbelief. The cheers turned into boos, and within minutes, clips of the play spread across social media like wildfire. Analysts froze the frame, showing how clean Boston's defense was. Fans zoomed in on White, begging for a challenge. Everyone saw it, and everyone came to the same conclusion. This wasn't oversight. This was an agenda. When referees won't even acknowledge a coach's right to challenge, it stops being about mistakes. It becomes about control. And from that moment on, the feeling of a fair fight was gone. But as Vegas leaned on lifelines from the whistle, something else started brewing. The so-called MVP of the league wasn't looking like a superstar at all.
Are both running up to the referee here. They are both so upset, and the referee is just walking away from them. He won't even look at them in the face. He keeps turning. Like, Sophie even went up at one point and is like tapping on his arm. He would not even look.
Picture this. The league's reigning MVP, the face of the Las Vegas Aces, goes nearly 3 quarters without making a single basket. That's exactly what happened to A'ja Wilson. She opened Game 3 with a confident three-pointer, the kind of shot that usually signals dominance is coming. Instead, it became her only highlight for the entire first half. By the break, she was shooting 1 for 11. 1, 4, 11. By the end of the night, her stat line told the story loud and clear. 6 makes on 20 attempts, just 13 points on 20 shots. Numbers that would get a rookie benched, let alone the supposed best player in the league. And here's the kicker. Wilson didn't just miss shots, She looked rattled.
Boston continues to show her frustration. It really started a couple possessions.
Aaliyah Boston walled her off, cut her angles, and forced her into low-percentage fadeaways all night long. This wasn't just an off night. It was Boston putting the clamps on a superstar. But if you read the headlines afterward, you'd think Wilson dominated. The media spun it into a story about all-around impact. A rebound here, a block there, a few assists sprinkled in. Anything to avoid admitting what really happened. Indiana's defense completely neutralized her. And still, the Aces didn't suffer. Because while Wilson bricked shot after shot, the whistles made sure Vegas never paid the price. But here's where the series flipped on its head. While Vegas's superstar crumbled, Indiana's unlikely hero rose from the shadows. And she did it on one good back.
Are you trying to get me fined again?
I am not.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. You know, I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. And you know, I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is.
While Aja Wilson disappeared, Lexi Hull showed up in the biggest way imaginable. Remember, Hull wasn't even supposed to be out there. She hurt her back in Game 1, and every warm-up since looked painful. Fans figured she might give a few minutes, maybe serve as a decoy. But instead, she delivered the performance of her life. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, a steal. And she did it while shooting 6 of 10 from the floor, drilling 3 massive threes that kept Indiana alive every time Vegas tried to pull away. Across the series, she tied a Fever playoff record with 8 triples, and she did it while grimacing through pain the cameras couldn't hide. Every possession with her on the court was a war.
It's going to be an exciting season. I think more than anything, we're a deep team, and I think everyone's really bought into trusting the process. This season, you know, it might not start off super pretty, but we know that putting in the work, putting in, you know, trust into the coaching staff, trusting each other, that by the end of the season we'll be exactly where we want to be.
Loose balls turned into collisions, rebounds turned into wrestling matches, and yet Hull never backed down. She dove to the floor, boxed out players bigger than her, and still had the presence of mind to hit clutch shots when the Fever needed them most. The Gainbridge crowd saw it. They rallied to her every bucket, every rebound, every hustle play. For those fans, Hull became the heartbeat of Indiana's resistance. Proof that grit and sacrifice could still shine through the chaos. But here's the tragedy. On the same night Hull played the best playoff game of her career, the conversation wasn't about her. It wasn't about the gutsy threes or the painful rebounds. It was about referees tilting the floor. Her moment in the spotlight was stolen by controversy. And that's when her coach, Stephanie White, finally broke. Stephanie White has been through battles before. As a player, as a coach, she's seen heartbreak, tough losses, and uphill climbs. But this was different. This wasn't basketball anymore. It was manipulation. So after watching her team fight through flops, phantom whistles, and ignored reviews, she finally snapped. In her post-game press conference, White didn't hold back. No polished coach speak, no careful words to avoid a fine. Just raw honesty. She pointed straight at the numbers, a -31 free throw discrepancy. She explained the obvious. Indiana wasn't chucking threes, they were attacking the rim. And yet, they got nothing. Her voice cracked with frustration as she called the treatment egregious and the disrespect unbelievable. Fans heard the pain behind every word. This wasn't just about one loss. It was about Lexi Hull throwing her body on the floor, Aaliyah Boston battling through triple teams, Kelsey Mitchell getting hammered with no whistle, and all of it being erased by officiating that tilted the court before the ball even tipped.
And you know, we didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
White's message was simple: enough is enough. The WNBA needs a real investigation, not a memo, not a half-hearted apology, but a full-scale public reckoning. And by saying it out loud, she lit a fire that the league office can no longer ignore. Because this series wasn't just about the Fever anymore. It was about the future of the league itself. This series was never just Fever versus Aces. It became a battle for the soul of the WNBA. Think about it. Without Caitlin Clark, without the Fever's surge of new fans filling arenas and smashing ratings records, the league wouldn't even have this spotlight. And yet, instead of protecting that momentum, the WNBA let games be decided by whistles, not players. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has stayed silent. The media twisted Aja Wilson's struggles into spin. And fans are left wondering if fairness even matters. Because if officiating can tilt a playoff series this blatantly, what message does that send? That the league doesn't care about competition, only about protecting its chosen brand. Stephanie White's demand changed everything. By calling for a full-scale investigation, she ripped the lid off what fans have been shouting for months. This wasn't about bad luck or human error, it was about integrity. And if the WNBA ignores it, the damage could be permanent, because players like Lexi Hull deserve better. Aaliyah Boston deserves credit for shutting down an MVP. Fans who pack arenas deserve real basketball, not a rigged circus. The bottom line? Indiana may have lost the series, but they exposed something bigger, a truth the league can't hide forever. So the question now isn't whether the Fever can bounce back. It's whether the WNBA has the courage to fix its dirtiest secret before fans decide they've had enough. If you think this frustration was just inside the Fever locker room, think again. Fans across the country weren't just upset, they were furious. Within minutes of the controversial calls, clips flooded social media. Slow-motion breakdowns on X, side-by-side replays on TikTok, and fan edits on YouTube all told the same story. Indiana wasn't losing to Vegas, they were losing to the whistle. The hashtag #RiggedWNBA started trending during Game 3, and countless fans posted side-by-side stats proving just how tilted the free throw numbers were. Inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, you could feel the shift. This wasn't the usual polite groan after a missed call, it was an eruption. Boos rained down on the officials, and chants of "let them play" echoed through the arena. Fans weren't just cheering for their team anymore, they were demanding fairness. Even analysts, many of whom usually tiptoe around officiating talk, couldn't stay quiet. Former players went on podcasts and flat out said what everyone was thinking. If this keeps up, the WNBA risks losing credibility with its newest fans. And when those fans are tuning in for Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and the Fever, the league can't afford to brush it off. That's why this series has turned into something bigger than just a semifinal matchup. The fans have already made their judgment, and they're not going to forget it.